friends! In today's video, I'm going to be demonstrating 4 different cards for you, which are part of my May 2022 Customer Appreciation Card class. This is one of my monthly card classes that is free for everyone. So the PDF tutorial will be available for you listed in the description below. And for those of you who have placed orders with me this month, you will be receiving a complimentary card kit to put these cards together. As I always like to say during these online classes, use the supplies you have. If you don't have the same stamps or products I'm using, I just want you to have fun and create with what you do have. Having said that, if you live in Canada, if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, or if you're one of my customers and you do want some of these supplies, feel free to reach out to me. It's always my honor to serve you and help you in any way I can. So I will quickly say before I jump into today's cards, I know I have not been posting as many videos as I normally do. I like to post a new video once a week. And for about 2 months now, I have done one a month. And I hope to get back to my weekly videos again soon. But for those of you who don't know, we have been busy renovating our kitchen. So we are about to get all our new cabinets and rip out the old ones and new flooring. We added an addition to our house, a beautiful sunroom that we're trying to get finished, and that's also where I'm going to be doing my computer work for Stampin' Up! Because this is my full-time business and the room is so nice and bright. And we are also planning our wedding. So we're getting married in August and we're doing it all ourselves. We have a beautiful yard, so I'm about to get the yard all cleaned up now that the weather's getting nice. That's why I look like this, au naturel, because I just came in from working out in the yard a little bit. Our garden's ready to be tilled and I've got my seeds planted for veggies and flowers, and I'm making my wedding invitations. In fact, my desk is covered in my wedding invitation paraphernalia, so I'll show you a shot of that before I clear it to do today's class. So it's just, we have a lot on the go. So that's pretty much what's going on with me in a nutshell. So if you're wondering why my videos have not been as frequent, now you know why. So on that note, let's start stamping. Okay, I had mentioned in my introduction I would share with you what's going on with my wedding invitations. So I will do a video showing you how I've put together my wedding invitations. So I just have everything ready to go, all the DSP cut that my girlfriend Shallon, who's also my maid of honor, helped me do. All the beautiful DSP that uses our wedding colors, and these are 4x6. Give you a little tiny sneak peek of the completed one. That's all you get. You gotta wait because I don't want to ruin the surprise for our friends and family that are getting the invitation. So that is what my desk looks like in real life, and I'm gonna clean it off and start stamping. All right, so we are going to be using Happiness Abounds. This is a lovely new stamp set as part of the Hues of Happiness bundle and suite that's in the new catalog. The other new stamp set, and it also has coordinating dies. I don't know if I mentioned this has coordinating dies. He's All That. With Father's Day coming, I thought this would be fun to use for some masculine cards. And then I'm pulling in 2 stamp sets that have been carried over into our new catalog, Campology and Quiet Meadow. And I'm going to be using those with today's cards also. Alrighty, card number 1. If you get my card kits, these are how the supplies come. Everything's pre-cut. And for this card, there's also some die cuts, and these are right from the beautiful Designer Series paper. Let me show that to you. So these are die cut from the gorgeous Hues of Happiness 12x12 Designer Series paper that is part of the suite with the Happiness Abounds stamp set and coordinating dies. I've just got them stuck on that in here for now. But this paper, holy mackerel, is it ever pretty. I mean, look at those colors. It's so me, these colors. This is very similar to my wedding colors, actually. So, oh, look at this. I should zoom out so you guys can really see this. Like, look at those colors. Doesn't that just make you happy? Makes me happy. Now I'm getting all my DSPs mixed up here. And then we've got the flowers. These coordinate with our dies that come with this. Look. These also coordinate with the dies, so you can put the dies right on top, cut them out, and look at that. So this is the pattern that I used for this card, so with the little stems. So you can use any of those flowers. So that's the pretty paper. And this card comes together pretty quickly. So I'm using the Fresh Freesia cardstock. I've also cut some of that designer series paper. So this measures 4 by 5 1/4. And I am just going to glue that right onto the card base. Oh, the other thing I did, I just remembered, because I kind of pre-did this a bit. In these dies, see this die here, you guys? Isn't that cool? So it's kind of like that spiral bound thing going on. So I actually did that along the top, just to kind of get that little design. It's just pretty fun. So that's optional, of course. Okay, so that is gonna go on like that. Isn't that pretty? Oh my goodness. And as I always say, and I'm sure many of you who have been using Stampin' Up products for years will agree, it's our color coordination that is our secret. One of our secrets with all our great products, isn't it? I just love the color coordination. All right, so now I'm gonna pull in a piece of basic white. This measures 1 1/4 by 3 3/4, and I'm gonna stamp the sentiment. And the sentiment I'm gonna stamp is sending many thanks for all you do. Okay, and I'm stamping with my gorgeous grape ink pad, which is the darker of the purples. And bring this back in. And I'm just gonna stamp it right about there. Okay. So now I have a little strip of our Fresh Freesia ribbon. This is 5 inches, I do believe. Let me grab my handy dandy ruler here. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so it's about 5 inches long. So you can make these really neat little ribbon embellishments even with a little bit of ribbon. So get a lot of mileage out of your ribbon. So what I'm going to take is my pen, and I know I've shown this before in other videos. And the bigger the pen, you're going to need a little bit bigger ribbon. But all I'm doing is I'm tying a knot around that pen. It can be a paintbrush. You just want something that's smooth enough that you can slide this off. So all I've done, friends, is I've just made a super tight knot on my pen. So I'm going to slide it off and grab my scissors right here, and they got glue on them. So let me get some different scissors here. Actually adhesive from the wedding invitation. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors, and where that little loop is, I'm just going to cut that. So that's making my little bow. Like, how cool. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab a glue dot, stick it on the back, and position that, let's see, right about there. Okay, and my tear and tape, a little bit there. Take off the backing. See, and look at, I have like tons of ribbon, like excess ribbon, like, so 5 inches is even quite generous for this little piece. but it's easier to tie the knot when you've got that little extra length, right? So look at, isn't that sweet? I love that. So now we're going to put that on a strip of mossy metal cardstock, and this cardstock measures 3 3/4 by 1.5. So I'm just going to use my glue. You can use your Stampin' Seal, whatever adhesive floats your boat. And this is going to just go on like that. Okay. And then this is going to get glued onto the card front. And let's see, I'm going to put it right there, so not quite in the center. Okay. And then I have my die cuts. So I only need one. And there's the different colors in the paper, so you could use pink. I'm going to use yellow, and I'm going to grab a dimensional. I'm going to put that behind there, but before I put it on, I need another piece. And let's just see if it's in the envelope. Should be. Oh, yes, it is. Yay! So this is also cut from the designer series paper too. So this piece I want to glue on. I don't want that on with the dimensional. And what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of tucking it behind that white a little bit, just so I have those leaves overlapping onto that white strip. And then this piece, I'm going to take off my dimensional, and I'm going to put a teeny little bit of glue on this little bit of stem. And that is going to also go under there, but I'm going to have those petals go on top of that white. Fun, fun, fun. Now I need some bling. I have my iridescent rhinestones, which make me so super happy. And that's going to go right in the middle. And then I have a piece of computer paper cut 4 by 5 1/4. You can certainly use our regular basic white cardstock. Sometimes I do in my cards and sometimes I don't. But that is ready to be stamped and have my sentiment. And oh, let me bring this in and show you guys the stamp set. Limited edition, also new in our new catalog. Oh my goodness, you guys, I am loving this. I think I'm going to be using this stamp set on pretty much every single card. And I mean every single card, every single project that I make, because I love this. Handcrafted from the heart, made with love, just for you. Hand stamped, limited edition, a paper hug from me, a one-of-a-kind creation. Like, how awesome is that? Like, for our own little personal stamp on the back of the cards. And if you sell your cards at craft fairs, you do need the Stampin' Up copyright, which is part of our angel policy, part of demonstrator regulations. So they have included the Stampin' Up copyright below some of the images, but of course you can just cut that and use that with any stamp set. So anyways, that's pretty darn cool. So let's use one of those. I'm going to use the limited edition. And I'm going to use my gorgeous grape since it's already here. And then you can go and add your autograph. Add your name. Let them know that you made that masterpiece. But you know, it's just one of those simple card designs, isn't it? And it's so pretty. You can use the different colors. Let me show you the first one I made. So exactly the same, but using more of the pinks in the background and a pink flower. Like, isn't that awesome? I get excited about so many little things, don't I? Like this is such a simple card design, but I love it. I love the layout, and I look at all my different designer series papers, especially when I need to make a bunch of cards. And I look at them and I think, oh my goodness, I can make so many cards just using this one simple layout, and even use up little bits of ribbon and get a lot of cards out of one package of cardstock and DSP and ribbon and Bob's your uncle. Isn't that fun? I hope you enjoy those cards. I know I love them. So, so pretty. All right, moving on. Again, using the same stamp set, except this time we are using crumb cake for our card base. I have everything pre-cut here. So for this card, I'm using Fairy Vanilla cardstock. I kind of feel like my Fairy Vanilla cardstock has been neglected. I tend to almost always use basic white, and I do love Fairy Vanilla. In fact, I just ordered a couple more packs of Fairy Vanilla cardstock because I love the vintagey look too that you get with Fairy Vanilla cardstock. So anyhow, that's what we're using for our card base. And then I have a piece of crumb cake, and as you can see, I wrote on here it's 4 1/8 by 5 5/8, because when I put this on the card is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 when folded. See, I only wanted just a nice edge, like a little edge. I didn't want a great big edge showing. All right. So let's bring some stamps in from this set, because except for the sentiment, I didn't use any stamps on that last card. I let the designer series paper do all the work. Okay. Let's get everything back in its home. All right. I'm going to start with the bigger flower, this one here. And I'm going to grab my block. And I don't know where my foam mat is that I like to use with my photopolymer, so that's fine. We will do it without. So I'm using my black Memento because I'm going to be coloring these with my Stampin' Blend markers. So I'm going to stamp down. And I'm going to turn my stamp around, go in a different direction, and then I'm going to go off the page a bit. Now I'm coming in with this image next. I'll ink that up. And then I'm also going to stamp about 3 of those. Let's see, squeeze one in here. One there. Now it's time for some greenery. So I am bringing in these 2 images here. So I'm going to use the bigger leaves on the bigger flower image. Do one here. And let's see. Put that one there. And then this guy. And I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to overlap too much. And I did not give myself a whole lot of space for this one. I could mask, but I'm not going to. Whew. Just got that one in. Another one here. Let's go this way. So I'm not concerned about this section, guys, because I'm actually going to have my sentiment in here. Time for some coloring. I'm using our brand new Sweet Sorbet color of our Stampin' Blends, the light and dark. So I'm going to start with the dark, and this is for the bigger flowers. And I'm just going to color in the whole flower. I know that's pretty radical. Pretty radical. You don't want to go too close to the edge because the ink will bleed past that a bit. So just keep that in mind. Just go try to go just a little bit, like, you see, like that. You just don't want it to bleed out. So, go around. Okay, I'm gonna finish this one because then I'm gonna speed up the camera and show you how I do the rest of them. Well, they're all gonna be done the same. So I'm taking my dark now and I'm just going kind of like where you see these little folds. And I'm actually, to be honest, guys, I'm just randomly adding my dark. It's gonna look great. You don't have to be no super fancy pantsy, but where you put that. Then I'm taking my color lifter and I'm gonna move some of that color around and just kind of break it up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the other big flowers. Next up is my light and dark Daffodil Delight. I'm going to color the smaller roses exactly the same way I did the bigger one. Now I'm bringing in some light pumpkin pie just because I love yellow and orange roses, or yellow and pink roses. I just love the blending of those colors. So I'm just kind of going willy-nilly, adding it here and there and letting it work into the first layer of marker that I already put down with the Daffodil Delight. And now I'm taking my blender pen again, or my color lifter I should say, and I'm just working those colors in. Really, really pretty. Okay, moving on to the greens. I'm going to use our new Parakeet Green for the little leaves. Sorry, I had to think there. And I'm also just pulling that marker down on the stem. And then I'm taking the dark, and all I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit right at the base of the leaves. And I'm going to let that dry and then come back and add a little bit more, just so I get the two tones. And for the last green, for the Baker flowers, I'm going to use Soft Succulent. On the original card that which I'll show you in a few minutes when this is done, I used Old Olive, but I want to see what the Soft Succulent would look like, and I can tell you right now, I do like it. So this is just the light. And of course, everything looks different when you're coloring on our crumb cake cardstock versus white. Okay, and bring in the dark. I'm just going to draw a line. And then I'm going to add some more of the light marker on top of this. So can you see how those colors just blend in so nice? And it's very quick coloring. It's not being precise, but it looks super, super pretty. So next step is bringing in my basic gray ink pad and my Quiet Metal stamp set. And I'm going to start with this really fun type background. And I'm going to ink this up and I'm going to stamp it off twice on my scrap paper before I stamp it onto the card. So don't panic, but I'm going right over top of my roses and stamp off twice. You do want to make sure your letters are going in the right direction. I'm going to do one right in the middle like that. Stamp twice. And it just adds just a fun background to this. If you want it darker in some areas, just stamp off once. because this came out a little bit dark, I'm gonna just not stamp it all, or not stamp off. I'm just gonna stamp it right there so it's a little bit darker. Now I'm bringing in the splatter stamp, which is also from Quiet Meadow, and I'm going to stamp that with crumb cake ink. And I'm not stamping off, I'm just stamping right directly on. And I just stamped it that way because I can tell that the image narrows down a bit and this narrows down in here. So that's kind of how my mind works when I'm stamping. And this has a little bit more open space, right? So I want to use the wider portion of the stamp to get more splatter in there. And a little bit there. I think that's good. That's fun. Okay, so that is going to get glued directly onto my Fairy Vanilla card base. So for those of you who get my card kits, in your envelope you'll also have all your die cuts and punches done. So ordinarily I would stamp my sentiment and then punch it, but because some of you are getting these pieces in the mail because you may not have these punches at home, I'm just going to go ahead and stamp on that piece. So I'm going to use my black Memento, and I'm stamping the word friend, which is from the Happiness Abounds stamp set. And oh, I should mention I used our double oval punch for that, so I'm going to stamp friend right in the center of my Fairy Vanilla oval. And then I'm going to glue this onto my basic gray oval. And then that's going to get put on my card with Stampin' Dimensionals. And this, I wish I had thought of this before I stamped on the type, but I wish I had done this one landscape, because my original is already portrait, and that would just show you a different variation. Right here, right smack dab in the center, I'm going to bring those iridescent rhinestones back, and I'm going to take actually the big rhinestones and put one right in the center of those 3 big red roses. And there's the finished card. So I'll show you the first one that I made. It's pretty much identical, except remember I had mentioned to you I used Old Olive originally, and this is with that soft succulent. I really love how that soft succulent came out on this card. It really breaks up the greens, whereas the Old Olive is equally pretty on this one, but I love having that little bit of bluish green come through on the card. So there is card number 2. Okay, and I just realized I forgot to stamp the back, so I'm gonna grab my hand stamped, and I'm just gonna use my black. I love these little stamps, my goodness. And grab this pen. I'm going to color in that little heart. Dear. Ready to give to someone I love. The next card features the He's All That, from the He's the Man suite. So I'm going to show you, I've been cutting into the designer series paper, but it is so cool with the cars and the motorbike. Very great colors. And I love the masculine theme. I love this. I love vintage. I love glampers, trailers, like all that kind of thing. So this totally speaks to me. You can see the ties, the mustache. Really, really fun. Let's see, here's a note that's the same with the car pattern. And then have this fun pattern. And then look at this, you guys. These are all perforated. So all of these bits and pieces punch out, and you can use them on your cards or your scrapbook pages or projects. Like, that's pretty darn cool. And you get 2 sheets. So that is part of the He's the Man suite. Father's Day coming up, it would be handy dandy to get some masculine card designs out to you guys. So here's everything pre-cut. Oh, this is another piece of the pattern I didn't show you. But look at how fun that is. And that's the back side. So it's Cajun Craze, and that's the color we're using for our card base. So this just gets glued right on. Then using the same designer series paper, I've cut this to measure 4 by 1.5. This is going to get glued, but I'm gluing it so that the reverse side is facing up. And I'm going to put that on like so. Move this up so you guys can see what I'm doing. And then this is another pattern of the designer series paper in that package, and I'm going to be using this pattern. So glue that on, and this piece measures 4 by 1.25. That goes right on the front. Okay. Then I have some die cuts. This is out of our metallic cardstock. This is the bronze or the copper, I believe. And then from the black, this is one of the die cuts that is part of this bundle. And I love this shape of this label. So, oh wait, and some ribbon. So the ribbon is our frayed white ribbon, and I'm gonna grab my scissors, grab my fabric scissors, and what I'm gonna do, this is just a tiny piece. This measures 3 inches. So again, this is a magical way to stretch out tiny bits of ribbon, especially when you need a longer piece of ribbon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half, okay, fold it like that, because I want to get my the little flag end there. I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. Okay, you're like, but how is that going to go all the way across? All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that right in half and add some glue. You can use your tear and tape or whatever adhesive, of course. And I'll put that right there. Kind of sneaky, huh? Sneaky, sneaky, but then nothing goes to waste. And line that up there. And then I'm going to take these bits and glue them on. Okay, so this is going to get put on with dimensionals. Bringing in the Holy Smokes, You're Amazing, which is perfect to go with our kind of like barbecue theme we got going on there. And I'm going to stamp that with my Cajun Craze ink pad. And I'm stamping it onto my Sahara Sand cardstock. This is the die that I'm going to use to cut this out with. So I'm going to bring in my little mini die cut and embossing machine. And that just gets glued on the front. And part of this suite includes some new embellishments. These are our rustic metallic adhesive backed dots. So I'm just going to take one of those, or 2 of those I should say, and I'm going to put one on each side here. That, I mean, you could put it on this part if you want. Maybe I'll do that so you can compare the difference between this card and my original card. Here are my cards. So on the first one, I put those dots onto the black label, and then you just saw me put these over here. So both ways look really good. Super fun, masculine card. Alright, we are on to the last card. I'm going to flip this over so it's not quite so distracting with all that ink. So for this card, I'm using soft succulent cardstock for my card base, and I've cut it to measure 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So I'm just putting some glue behind my little pieces of Designer Series paper. I'm starting with the Cajun Craze piece. I'm just going to put it up at the top, right onto the front of this card base. And then this one is going to go beside it, leaving a little tiny bit of a gap. So there's my card base. Now it's time to stamp and die cut my sentiment, which is done on Sahara sand. So for this, I'm using the Every Day With You is Another Adventure. I'm going to take my embossing buddy so that I don't have any static, thus getting embossing powder where I don't want it. And I'm taking my Versamark ink pad. And I'm going to stamp this and emboss it in copper. So very, very simple. I love using markers direct to stamps. So here's my original first card that I made. You can see it's the same, except I just put the layout of my Designer Series paper a little bit differently. But I'm going to show you how I stamped the inside of this using the Campology stamp set. This Campology stamp set coordinates so well with this He's All That, because if you notice, there's trees and there's little tents. So what I did on the inside is I stamped the trees, I stamped my tent, but then I also stamped it on a scrap piece of Cajun Craze and cut it and just glued it. So this image right here. So that way I didn't have to worry about cutting the little lines. I could just glue that right on top. And then the sentiment is from Campology. And this works beautifully with the sentiment on the front. Every Day With You is Another Adventure. You brighten my path. I think that is a perfect sentiment for this card. I hope you enjoyed this month's card class, friends, and that you got lots of ideas and you have fun recreating these card designs at home. Don't forget, I've got the PDF tutorial listed in the description below for you. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Take care and happy stamping.